Okay, Sunday, 14th of June, 2026. So Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Naivety inducing systems. Now, this is an interesting attack vector. I've come to realize naivety, running a model of reality that's missing incentives, trade-offs, and having adversarial behavior, or missing adversarial behavior. So, we could say that there are certain words and phrases that are popular today. Vague words, or moral heat, or identity pressure. No. This whole system would result in low-resolution thinking, not understanding the layers and nuances of reality and the things that are out there, and instead relying and thinking with regards to vague words, moral heat or morality, identity pressure, interesting, authority cues, urgency, and comforting stories. It's that meme, really. Like reality versus a comforting lie, and everyone wants a comforting lie and doesn't want reality. So we could then say that there are words and concepts and phrases that induce naivety with regards to lulling us into a false sense of security, we could say, if we're going to be a bit adversarial. So sacred, undefined words, high emotion, low precision, freedom, democracy, rights, justice, equality, safety, community, harm, progress. Object level facts, but policy bundles. Everyone agrees until you demand operational definition. So there are words and phrases and concepts out there, we could say in the context of propaganda really, that are used but not necessarily defined. That vagueness is by design really. That lulls us into false sense of security. So freedom to do what and freedom from what? Who decides the boundary cases? What's the enforcement mechanism? What do we give up to get this? When we go into the nitty-gritty and start asking these specific things, into the technicalities, or even virtue signaling phrases designed to shut down analysis. Common sense, be kind, think of the children. If you disagree, you're X. That's basically no true Scotsman fallacy, changing the goalposts. And that's quite a famous one as well, actually. Think of the children. That's a common excuse. We could look at, there was an interesting law in the UK that was passed a year ago, actually, 11 months ago, July 2025. Or common sense. That's an interesting thing to unravel, because we could say in one real strict sense, or anthropologically speaking, common sense doesn't exist. It's far too subjective. Name the specific policy action and its predicted effects. What's the measurable outcome you want? Or mantras that compress complexity into a lie. Cliche thinking. I did a video about this as well a year or two ago. Dangers of that. Everything happens for a reason. I had an interesting conversation with a client of mine a few days ago, a week ago, I can't remember, talking about how they said, this thing happens, so they interpret it as everything happens for a reason, which is post-rationalization, really. Everything happens for a reason. Just work hard. Follow your passion. Be yourself. It'll all work out. What level of cope that is, it'll all work out. Interesting. They ignore selection effects, constraints, trade-offs. You have to be careful, really, to ignore or to be ignoring human nature in game theory. I did some videos in the past where ignore human nature at your peril. They're motivational, not descriptive. Not describing reality in a more high-definition way and to be more specific and exact with what's happening. Translate into conditionals. Work hard at what? Under which market conditions? With what feedback loop? Notice again, we're going into the systems and the technicalities. Or even authority theatre, credentialism. I think I did a video about this as well, actually, a few months ago. Credentialism. Credentialism uniforms experts agree. Institutions, glossary dashboards. Why it induces naivety? You outsource your model to someone who incentives you haven't checked. That's interesting, meaning you're outsourcing your thinking to authority figures. You're outsourcing your thinking to people in white coats. 2020 comes to mind straight away. Interesting. What happened then? I don't know. Anecdote, and what are they rewarded or punished for? What happens if they are wrong? What's the track record and forecast, not explanations? So one thing that I remember studying, I remember just about years ago, with regards to institutions, is to what extent do they have their reputation on the line? Because that is an incentive for their predictions and what they're talking about and what they're advocating. Likewise, we could say there's an interesting mantra that's floating around on social media these days to say, don't trust someone or don't listen to someone whose job depends on them not understanding something. And this was in the context of Bitcoin. So you could say, don't trust this economist because his livelihood depends on him not utilizing or using Bitcoin, because he has different incentives, meaning to not understand this, to maintain the status quo, to keep his job, something like that. So it's incentives again at a deeper level. Understand incentives and watch them, the rewards and what they're punished for. You can go deeper to say, what would this person be exalted by saying or advocating, and or what would they be exiled by advocating and saying? So incentive camouflage. So examples: we are family here. We care about you. We're neutral. We want what's best. Why it's naivety inducing. It hides principal agent problem. Their stated aim does not necessarily mean their payoff function. So show me the incentive align when things go wrong. Who eats the loss? That's quite interesting to think about. Who eats the loss? What happens when things go wrong? What happens when things go right? Okay. Urgency and fear triggers. Now this is typical in sales, we could say. Act now, limited time, crisis, emergency. Emergency powers. You will regret it. There was an interesting saying that there's no such thing more everlasting or permanent than a temporary government solution. Interesting. A bit cynical, but nonetheless. Or even, what was Nixon's famous words? We are temporarily suspending the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Temporarily, 50 or so years later, temporary still. So who knows when it's going to be unsuspended, let's say. Act now, limited time, you will regret it, etc. Forces fast thinking. Fast thinking is lazy thinking. It's reptilian part of the brain. It's now or never. It's emergency. Oh, it's that. It's hurry, hurry, hurry. It's that kind of thinking, keeping you on your toes. So, if it's real, it'll still be real tomorrow. Ask, what's the downside of waiting 24 hours? Because you can go deeper to say, it's a good mantra in life to wait 24 hours before. Oh, it's that saying really. Well, it's that cliche. You could say, oh, I'll sleep on it. Think about it. I had a contract I wanted to analyse deeply recently, near the end of May, and then a week later or so I signed it. Very nice, very fair. Identity hooks. So, real men do X. Smart people believe Y. People like us don't. It induces naivety. It binds belief to belonging. Now you're defending self, not seeking truth. Now this is fascinating. It's the no true Scotsman fallacy again. But also it's an attack on identity. Oh, if you're one of us, you'll X and Y and Z. If you believe this, and you will do X and Y and Z. Things like that. Would you believe this if it's my worst? Would you believe it? My worst enemy said it, or what evidence would change my mind? That is very powerful. I had an interesting conversation recently with a client with regards to confirmation bias, and to say if there's nothing that will change your mind about X, then it's not a logical conclusion that you've come to by thinking about it. It is a cult, or a cult, or it is a religion in some fashion, in a loose term, meaning objectively speaking, what objective data would change my mind about X, Y, or Z? That's very important to quantify and to point to in life. So narrative seduction, stories that feel true, rags to riches, underdog wins, evil villain causes all problems. Stories delete base rates and hide randomness. What are the base rates? How many tried and failed? What are the boring explanations? Now, one thing I've come to realize in life is that actually we kind of want things to be boring. We kind of want things to be very mundane, where it's the system's in place, the logic's already set up, the incentives are there and recognized, and we're just building, we're just working, we're just trotting along because everything is just normal. Just click, click, things happen. That. Tech-mediated reality distortions, algorithms, virality and metrics. Now, about a year and a half ago in November 2024, I did a video on here. I had an interview with a gentleman, can't remember his name, where he talked about we living in I forgot the exact wording, something like algorithm technocracy, algorithm authoritarian, something like that, where our lives are dictated by the algorithm of our choosing, Instagram, social, X and beyond. And at the time, it was quite cutting-edge thought, and now it's increasingly evident to say, yes, our lives are dictated by the algorithm, or even nowadays we could say also LLM of our choice. It is the reality is being reflected back at us, what we want and what we don't want, meaning what we engage with. Social media outrage cycles, engagement-driven news, data-driven dashboards with vanity metrics. You confuse visibility with importance and engagement with truth. Wow. To think, what would I think if I never saw this online? Is this actionable or just emotionally sticky? You know, it flares up certain emotions in the mind. Which metric is being gamed? Interesting. And then of course it's the effective heuristic, feels good or bad, they must be true. Halo effect, good trait, assume is competent on morality. Motivated reasoning, defend identity and status. And that's interesting actually, something I'm curious about more, identity. Normalcy bias, assuming the future behaves like yesterday. So that was a big thing in 1929 where we're just going to assume it's going to continue like this forever. Or Goodhart's law, when a measure becomes a target, it stops measuring. So we have to understand what's at play in reality, what's happening around us, what is being said, what is not being said. Stop treating words as truth, treat them as interfaces. Behind every niche interface is a messy system with incentives, edge cases, failure modes, trade-offs, adversaries. And understand the deeper layers of reality, things that are happening all the time around us. What's affecting us, what's impacting us, what is influencing us, what's pushing us. And this is really cutting through to the real systems all around us, and it's really technical and really, have to really think objectively and logically with this. But then you could say, to what extent do you want to avoid being naive in life? Because one interesting mantra I've come across with all these videos is shed naivety in life. Do not be naive about things, people, places, human nature, business, money, women, contracts, you name it. Don't go out in the world and be naive. Don't have that critical naiveness. Shed naivety all the time and be in tune with reality. Be in tune with what's happening in the world. Don't be with your head in the clouds thinking, oh, everything will be okay, oh, la-di-da-da. No, shed naivety, shed naivety, shed naivety. Very important. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.